The news is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra. It's also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi and Sun City Radio in Keta. We're also live on Facebook and over 30 affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including Kaleo FM in Akachi, in Kigli FM in Bole, Radio Fumbisi in Fumbisi, and ATL FM in Cape Coast. Our digital outlets include the My Joy Online app and Spotify. In this edition, police obtained green light to arrest and detain Medina MP Francis Xavier Susu after he failed to show up in court for the third time since criminal charges were filed against him.
Exercising a right that the law grants you does not stop the court from saying that we cannot exercise that right. This issue the temple. We will advise yourself. We will come back to this court.
We hear from the MP who says he feels targeted by people in authority.
I believe it can be a good grounds for people to target me, and I will not be surprised if I'm targeted for harm or any of those things.
Much later, also, I'll take you live to Parliament. We're hearing on the Proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill. Hearing is ongoing. And then government describes as vague, empty and unrealistic conditions set by the NDC minority before approving the 2022 budget.
The government proposal is to put U-levy down. And you say that you are rejecting it. Tell us, what is your alternative? Now you are saying stakeholders should sit down and come out with reasonable. What kind of vague language is that?
And as the majority push for a motion of rescission to declare as null and void the rejection of the budget by Parliament, the minority chief whip singles out the majority leader for blame.
If anybody has to buy his head in shame, it is he. Because he has become a spent layer and has how to live his usefulness as a leader.
I'll walk you through the options available to government ahead of a showdown in Parliament tomorrow. Also this afternoon, President Akufo-Addo says the current Legal Professions Act is not fit for use as it does not address current issues plaguing the profession.
The law that regulates the legal profession was passed in 1960. More than 60 years later, it is obvious that it cannot be fit for purpose in 21st century Ghana.
Well, Attorney General and Minister of Justice meanwhile calls for proper scrutiny of the mechanism for broadening access to legal education while safeguarding the integrity of the law profession.
I place emphasis on good faith because in recent times, the discussions bordering on the theme chosen for this conference has been characterized by a lot of politicking and petty point scoring for parochial ends.
We have details of that in sports.
It is the night where quality will be rewarded for their outstanding contribution to the game of football. My colleague Gary Al-Smith is there and will join us with details in 20 minutes.
And much later in the bulletin, we'll be revealing the mastermind behind Prempeh College's NSMQ feat.
The key is students who is down to earth, highly respectful. If you don't have these characteristics, Prempeh College, there's no way you can get a cup.
More as we hear from the winners who say not being complacent helped them to adequately prepare for their win.
We were very confident, but our confidence had to be in moderation because you have to be careful not to be overconfident or else pride will set in.
We have that and more in this edition of the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. Many thanks for choosing us this afternoon. We are your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Medina MP Francis Xavier Susu is a wanted man this afternoon. The police has received the blessing of the Kaneshie District Court to arrest and detain the MP after he failed to show in court for the third time. He is accused of destroying public property and unlawfully blocking public road. He granted us an interview last week where he said he feels targeted by the state for his activism.
There have been very major things in this country, and I've been a very huge and loud voice on them. I recall when, for example, the Ghana Bar president once upon a time had an issue, I was one of the voices that said he should resign. When the Chief Justice was implicated in $5 million bribery allegation before the General Legal Council, I was one of the people who was insisting that he should resign. And I made very, very strong statements, which I know that people in power would definitely not be happy with those statements. I was part of people who are introducing bills to remove CJ from the General Legal Council, remove some of the senior judges from the General Legal Council. These are not things that we should take lightly. and many people will not feel will not feel so great about these things. I believe it can be a good grounds for people to target me, and I will not be surprised if I'm targeted for harm or any of those things. Honestly, I felt very, very insecure by the things the police did. I felt my security had been compromised to the extent that even when the matter before the Parliament committee, they could even go ahead and then interdict my personal bodyguard. Clearly, you've taken away my security.
So that bodyguard is no more?
Absolutely. I'm supposed to be entitled to a police bodyguard, but once you've interdicted him, it means that he cannot work. It is not appropriate.
But you have a replacement?
I don't have a replacement. You don't just get replacements for those. You need to be sure of who is coming and so on and so forth, because...
So there was a replacement, but you were not sure of the security?
I don't have a replacement.
The police administration has not made any effort to replace...
Not at all. And it means that it will take a personal effort to either get a personal, security until such a time that this whole saga is resolved.
Well, and that's Francis Xavier Susu there interacting with my colleague Maxwell Agbagba in the Volta region. But the MP was supposed to show up in court this morning, but his lawyers say he was attending to parliamentary business, a reason they had advanced on the 2 previous occasions he failed to show up. Magistrate Oheneba Kufo issued the warrant for the arrest of the MP, saying there's too much deception in the system. Mr. Susu's lawyers say they will seek to set this aside.
It is open knowledge, and we have told the court that is why he can't come. He's on national duty, so he can't come. The court says that, the prosecution says that if he doesn't come, we've demonstrated we don't want him. That's all. He's ready to fight his court, and we will fight the court. But exercising a right that the law grants you by filing a motion and others does not stop the court from saying that we cannot exercise that right. So we will come back to this court. This issue that then we will advise yourself. We will come back to the court. If it is true that he's in parliamentary committee or he's not gone for the parliamentary committee, I think it is best for the public to judge whether he went there or he didn't go there. Right. I have told the court what I know, and I have integrity, I have credibility, and I'm sure the Honorable Susu would love to have been here, but because of the duty in Parliament and the position as the deputy ranking, he could not come. That is why we have come. We've been truthful, and if that will be punished for being truthful, I don't think that it is. So we'll see what we'll do after.
That's Victor Kojoga Adaudo, is lead lawyer for the MP for Medina, Francis Xavier Susu. It remains to be seen what exactly the police would do about this, since the Kaneshie District Court has now declared Mr. Susu a wanted man. We'll be following that and bring you more subsequently. Now, the committee hearing proposals for and against the promotion of proper human sexual rights and family values bill has resumed sitting. Ahead of the presentations, Executive Secretary of the National Coalition for Proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Values, Moses Formweni, told Joy News he will use scientific data to back its proposition. He also says he's also surprised that Shraj is opposed to the bill.
We will make a very interesting, you will see, because I think a lot of arguments on human rights are a sidestep. I've had so many discussions with your station, and I have read what the LGBT movement itself says. This is just a smoke screen, and they know it. I mean, it is to move away from what they do and the consequences of it, because they know it is terrible. In fact, the phrase they use is sanitizing their insanitary behavior. So all this human rights, it's all a fake process. So we're not going to focus too much on the human rights. We will deal with it either outside Parliament or effectively when we tender our documents to respond to the fake human rights arguments. So today, you will see that we're going to take it from a scientific point of view. Okay, and establish the fact that genetically this is Ghana's position is right.
Well, that's Moses Formweni there, and currently Joseph Whittal, the Shraj Commissioner, is before the committee. They've been hearing his thoughts on this particular bill, and my colleague Kwesi Parker Wilson is there for us. Let's listen. Let's go live to my colleague Kwesi Parker Wilson shortly, and then we'll go live to listen to Mr. Whittal, the issues that he's been raising so far. So, Parker, tell us exactly what Shraj's concerns are about this particular bill.
You know that Shraj is mandated to champion human rights. And the argument being advanced by Joseph Rittal is that if, as a commissioner of strike, he goes on to the radio or television to advocate or speak on behalf of the rights of homosexuals, the law perhaps may deal with him as an issue he has a problem with. And again, the freedom of association, as is enshrined in the Constitution, he believes that people must be given the opportunity to form association. Let's go to live and then listen to more of the things he say.
Well, we'll do that shortly, Kwesi. But earlier, we know also that the MP for Ningo from Sam George, of course, leading this, has been making a point about this. Let's go to that as well. Take us through.
Well, so he's been making, in his view, a strong case for the passage of the bill. Now, he talks about the fact that the agenda of homosexuals essentially is to corrupt young ones. I mean, your children, our children, that's how he put it. And he used a song composed by San Francisco men's gay choir to back his claim that these are the real agenda of homosexuals. And so if you allow them to infiltrate the system, of course, they are going to corrupt the moral fabric of our society. And proceeded to make the point about how some homosexuals have begun recruiting SHS students, in fact, offering them commissions to recruit their colleagues into the practice. So he believes that some of these things are quite worrying. And in fact, the conversation has been made about the international treaty signed by Ghana for the fact that we need to protect human rights. The point Sam George makes this afternoon is that if you look into details what the treaty talks about, it talks about rights that are not absolute.
What the sponsors of this bill are trying to do is to defend the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which has not been amended yet by any group or body or nation. If you look at the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, again in there, Article 16 speaks about marriage, and we're harping on marriage because so if you have a marriage which is legal in another jurisdiction, when you enter within the jurisdictions of Ghana, if our laws void the kind of marriage you have, it is null and void here and of no consequence. In none of these international conventions can anyone show you where there is a call for the respect of sexual orientation.
Well, that's Sam George there, Ningo Pram MP. Paka, we also know that Moses Formini, together with Roxanne Nelson, the Felmakbo, have all appeared before the committee today. Who else is expected?
So we are expecting the Consortium of Sexual and Reproductive Health and Rights Services Delivery to appear before the Committee of Economic Representation. They are here. The Christian Council of Ghana are also here. Interestingly, we have the independent candidate. In fact, he was the vice presidential candidate, Jacob Osei-Yeboah, in the 2020 election. He's there as well, and he's scheduled to make his presentation. And the Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference, MFA, they are also here, ready to make their presentation today.
That's a parliamentary correspondent, Kwesi Parker-Wilson. We'll stay a while longer in Parliament, but this time on other related matters, because government has described as vague, empty and unrealistic conditions set by the minority NDC in Parliament before they approve the 2022 budget. The NDC, in a statement signed by its leader, Haruna Idrisu, wants government to suspend the electronic transaction levy, withdraw the Japan Minerals royalties deal, provide for the tidal waves disaster, as well as rewarding of the government Aka oil deal and review of the benchmark values for import. We have a government response shortly, but the majority will tomorrow move a motion of rescission to reverse the rejection of the budget. My colleague Elton Brobe looks at the issues and the options available to government.
Those against the motion say no. Honourable members, clearly the noes have it, is accordingly lost.
Safe to say there is no budget before Parliament, and the implications of this, if it remains, will be a total government shutdown in January 2022, because there will be no approved money to spend by government. But this can change because the government has tools available to reverse what has been done by Parliament. Joining us is learning the majority leader, Osei Chairman Sabonsu, will file a motion for rescission. He will argue in the motion that the House rejection of the budget was unconstitutional because they didn't have the required numbers to carry out such a business, invoking the dictates of Article 104 of the 1992 Constitution. For him, going to court is not an option.
Why would you go to court on annullity? Nothing has been done. What he did was a walkabout in the park, and it was unnecessary to utility. So we'll go and do what is required of us. So Tuesday, when we go back, when the House is properly constituted with sufficient numbers in December, we'll do what is right in accord with the Constitution. I believe that any objective and discerning mind, when he resigns, would come to the realization that what he did was wrong.
If this attempt is not successful, the government may have to present a new budget for consideration or come on a vote of an account to spend within the first quarter of next year. But the neutrality of the Speaker is a concern for the majority leader.
I think increasingly the conduct of the Speaker is coming under scrutiny, and that is most unfortunate. So how does that encourage the building of trust and confidence if we behave that way?
But ranking member on the Finance Committee, Keza Atuforsen, wants government to build consensus on the matter instead of taking the hard line.
What they need to do is for us to, by now, in fact, the engagement should even start today, so that by Wednesday we will be able to have a compromise position. As I sit here, I'm not aware that any engagement is going on. So you see, it is important for them to do that.
Well, that's Elton Robe's report. Now, the constitutionality or otherwise of Parliament's decision last Friday, which is rejecting the budget, is still splitting hairs. At the centre of the controversy is a dictate of Article 104, which says any such decision must be taken with more than half of MPs. But the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, says Parliament acted within the confines of the law.
The majority leader and the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo must accept defeat in good faith and accept the fact that the budget has been rejected. They should read the constitutional provision well. And more importantly, Parliament remains master of its own procedure.
That's not all. His chief whip, Mohammed Muttaka Mubarak, is blaming the majority leader, Osechi Mensah-Bonsu, for failing to lead his side.
I mean, it's just too unfortunate. I overheard the majority leader, Osechi Mensah-Bonsu, saying that the speaker should bow his head in shame. In essence, if anybody has to bow his head in shame, it is he, because he has become a spent layer and has how to leave his usefulness.
Well, the motion could be back in Parliament this week. That is, if the majority is able to overturn the decision already taken by Parliament. But passing it will require meeting some conditions set by the minority. Deputy Finance Minister Dr. John Kumah says the demands are unrealistic.
If you have a minority who are only interested in complaining without offering alternatives, it is very sad. I read their statement, and I'm like, okay, so you put down these 5 conditions, suspend the e-levy. What is the alternative? Because as a government, you have been in government before. You need to raise revenues to be able to spend. You are asking that we take care of the country, we pay workers, we address infrastructure issues, we go ahead with the flagship programs.
That's the Deputy Finance Minister, Dr. John Kumah. I'll take you to the Ashanti region now. And in the capital, Kumasi, residents say they are struggling to cope with the erratic nature of power outages there. Engineers at the Ghana Grid Company blame the situation on its damaged central transmission line, which has affected Greater Kumasi. But residents say the lack of a timetable or some uncertainty about the outages is affecting their lives. Prince Apia reports.
For the past 2 weeks, the power situation in Greater Kumasi have been unstable and unbearable. As a result, electricity consumers, especially small businesses, have been reeling under the current power challenges.
Yesterday, in fact, our light went off again and again for about 8 times during the night till daybreak. So when I wake up, most of my bulbs, the veranda, the bedroom, the hall, everything got bent.
I was with a couple of friends, having a conversation when the light just went off, and it just came back off on and off, and we noticed that every time it came back on, the lights were too bright, like it was brighter than usual, very bright. I had to even cover my eyes, and that was when I started seeing some of the bulbs in the area just going off, like boom, 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 like that.
But engineers at the Ghana Grid Company Limited, Gridco, say 2 of its central transmission lines have been damaged by a communication tower in the northern part of the Gridco setup. Northern Network Services for Gridco, Vincent Boache, explains this has been the cause of the power situation in the region.
There will be power outages. Unfortunately, a communication tower fell on a highway. We have a 330,000 volt line coming all the way from Abuazi through Kumasi, through Kintampo, Tamale to Boga.
Though repair works have begun to address the situation, Mr. Boache says power consumers in the region will have to endure the doomsday situation till December 2021.
We say that we are in an alert state, so it means that going off in the evening is possible. We expect that we should finish this transmission line work before the 20th of December.
Prince Apia reporting.
This is the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. We'll take a quick break because we're also live on Love 99.5 FM, Kekeli Radio in Ho, Swiss FM in Ho, ATL FM in Cape Coast, also streaming live on Facebook. And our digital outlets include myjoyonline.com app and then, of course, Spotify. Our top stories in this edition: police obtained green light to arrest and detain Medina MP Francis Xavier Susu after he failed to show up in court for the third time since criminal charges were filed against him. We've been hearing from him and he feels targeted by people in authority. When we return, we have sports, and then also President Akufo-Addo says the current Legal Professions Act is not fit for use as it does not address current issues plaguing the profession.
The law that regulates the legal profession was passed in 1960. More than 60 years later, it is obvious that it cannot be fit for purpose in 21st century Ghana.
It's Hollandia yogurt, a nourishing snack. Check. Vitality. Check. Taste. Check. Vitamins, calcium. Check. It's Hollandia yogurt. It's Hollandia yogurt. Hollandia yogurt.
Enjoy a nourishing boost of vitality with Hollandia yogurt. Available in strawberry and plain sweetened, fortified with vitamins A, B2, B12, and a source of calcium. Grab a pack of nourishment and level up. This advert is FDA approved.
Many thanks for your company here on the Midday News. Time for sports. We're heading to France?
Yes, we are heading to France because tonight is the night where quality will be rewarded. Because the year gone by, people have enjoyed football, and those who give us memories to savor are going to be rewarded tonight. And my colleague Gary Al-Smith is there. We'll be showing it live on Joy Prime tonight. It starts at 5 p.m. So we'll be showing it, and Gary has been giving us updates from France.
It's 3 degrees this morning in Paris. Winter is around the corner, but you can feel the heat of the Ballon d'Or. After a year's absence due to the pandemic, the award returns tonight. Rumors are rife in this city about several things. One, that Lionel Messi will win a 7th Ballon d'Or after leading Argentina to the Copa America title. Most of my sources here suggest this will happen, and yet there's a feeling that Bayern Munich's Robert Lewandowski, who would have won the award last year had it happened, has done enough over the last 2 years to get some poetic justice. And then, of course, there is Frenchman Karim Benzema, whose outstanding form for club and country has admirers. His numbers certainly back that up. But will he get enough votes to take the accolade tonight at the Théâtre du Châtelet? It will be live and exclusive and free to air on Joy Prime. Gary Al Smith, Joy Sports.
Who do you think should win it?
Oh, that is obvious now.
who is the obvious?
Let's watch Joy Prime.
Okay, we'll be watching Joy Prime. We start at 5 p.m. With our build-up, and red carpet starts at 5:50 p.m.
Merci beaucoup. Now, President Akufo-Addo says the current Legal Professions Act is not fit for use as it does not address current issues plaguing the profession. The president cautioned that in the pursuit of reforms in the Legal Professions Act, there can be no substitution of the General Legal Counsel. He adds that the GLC shall have the final say in the practice of law in the country. He's been speaking at the International Conference on the Future of Legal Education in Ghana and Africa, organized by the University of Ghana School of Law.
Since we gained our independence, we've had difficulties and stumbled in the search to reach our potential. But Ghana has never lost her position as the inspirational leading light of the African continent. At 63, we know that we have squandered many opportunities that properly utilized would have brought us to the economic breakthrough to which we aspire. We lament, and rightly so, the infrastructure deficits that plague all sectors of our lives and the considerable number of our people who still live in poverty.
Sincerely apologize for that wrong inset there. We'll be hearing from President Akufo-Addo on the GLC remaining in charge of the legal education. But the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, is meanwhile called for what he describes as proper scrutiny of the mechanism for broadening access to legal education.
If we have to be brutally honest, and I dare say we must be so brutally honest at this conference, to examine the future of legal education, the huge numbers churned by the various law faculties in turn has been responsible for the unrelenting demands in the past 10 to 12 years for a liberalization of access to professional law courses. I hold a fervent view that with the swell in the number of LLB holders, it has become imperative for us to rethink the delivery of legal education in Ghana. Indeed, the time has come for a proper scrutiny of the mechanisms for broadening access to legal education whilst safeguarding the integrity and the quality of the profession. Any genuine attempt at the reform of professional legal education must first address the organization, scope, and content of LLB programs in the various law faculties or law schools. Mr. President, the destiny of the nation is at stake. A lot of honesty, good faith, and dispassionate introspection is required for this conference to achieve what I term the twin objective of broadening access to legal education whilst preserving the integrity and quality of the profession. I place emphasis on good faith because in recent times, the discussions bordering on the theme chosen for this conference has been characterized by a lot of politicking and petty point scoring for parochial ends.
Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame. And George Amankwa-Boakye can be described as a mastermind behind the feat of Prempeh College in the National Science and Maths quiz. He has led the school as coordinator to win 3 trophies in competitions and twice as a tutor with a team. With almost 3 decades experience, Mr. Amankwa-Boakye says patience and respect for contestants is a reason for the school's success. He tells Love FM's Nanaya Ojima the ability to win the competition goes beyond the intelligence of contestants.
All the successes that we've chalked, all these set of students are very respectful, down to earth. They are also patient. You see, when you are patient, you are able to maximize your composure on stage. And if you get that composure, you're able to answer your questions successfully with wisdom. Because when you don't have wisdom, there's no way on stage, there's no way you can just get out of it and then.
Meanwhile, the 3 gentlemen who ushered the school to pick the trophy, 80,000 cedis and more goodies, Prempeh College can't attribute the ability to stay calm in the tense atmosphere to the training they receive from their teachers. They've been speaking to David Akweta as well.
We were very confident, but our confidence had to be in moderation because we had to be careful not to be overconfident, or else pride will set in. We were able to do that, maintain our composure, and then at the end we were victors. Because all the schools had the potential to win. We were actually trained psychologically for this event. Because one thing about the competition is that if you are afraid, you can't be able to stand in front of the audience. And that would actually affect your mental ability to work on stage.
Now, let's talk about the only girl who sat with 8 males on the stage for the finale. Keta SHTS's Francisca Lamini has been the talk of town since the appearance on the stage for the competition. She's been telling Enimoa Enimado how she's settling in her newfound fame.
I want to tell them that they should be very strong, believe in themselves, and then follow their dreams. They should work very hard and be very humble. Because through humility, you achieve a lot, and with God, you can reach higher heights.
That's Francisca Lamini. Well, congratulations, still in order for her. Now, Christmas festivities are on the corner, and for all of us who have to shop and we want discounted prices, let me introduce you to the Joy Prime Made in Ghana Fair. It will be happening at the Junction Mall from the 2nd to the 5th of December 2021. everything made in Ghana will be on display. One of the things you will see is nutritious dog food for your lovely pets as well. We'll hear from sales executive at Nutri Park, Eunice Annie, but project lead for the fair, Rosalind Feli, also says patrons should expect loads and loads of discounts.
When you attend this event, you get to save a lot of money because you'll be buying things that have been highly discounted. So let's say you're buying something on the market for 50 Ghana cedis. You could get it for 25 Ghana cedis.
Oh, wow.
Or probably 15 cedis just because you attended the fair. So everything is going to be discounted and you're going to save so much that day.
And now we can hear from the sales executive at Nutri Park, Eunice Annie.
We have the dry one, we have the canned one, we have the treats for training your dogs as well.
Yes.
Then we are also introducing starters, granule soup base, and then the tomato sauce.
Also for dogs?
No, already prepared. Like, when you want to prepare granules, you go to the market, you go and buy the granules, you come and fry it. We fried everything already. So once you pour it, you add your meat.
So how many scoops do I need to prepare my soup?
That's what I said. It depends on you.
And there's tomato in there.
Tomato and onion.
That's a sales executive at Nutri Park, Eunice Annie there, ending today's edition of the Midday News. Let's meet at the Junction Mall from the 2nd to the 5th of December is the Joy Prime Made in Ghana Fair. We'll get loads and loads of discounts. On myjoyonline.com, you can have more news and court issues warrant for arrest of Sosu. Minority sets 5 conditions for approving 2022 budget, and Keno Ferrata did not show good faith as Siedun Ketia there speaking on the probe last night. That's and more on myjoyonline.com. We have an advice. Watch what you say. Well, that's the title of Living Word with Pastor Mensah Otabil. Please stay for it. I am Emefa Apau. Many thanks for your company.